different areas, so probably we should start by introducing ourselves. I've already introduced myself. Maybe I could go right.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
My name is Sylvia Nakasi from UNASO. Good morning, everybody. The Flores.
Some people may not hear the others. Kindly, if you could be a little bit louder. I have not heard exactly.
I work for Women and Girl Child Development Association and morning, friends. I'm Tina Areva. I'm the field officer Kabale District.
You're welcome.
I'm Patricia Bamanyeti. I'm an intern at FOWODE company. Good morning, everyone. You are most welcome, those of you who traveled from far, and those of you who are here also in Kampala. My name is Maureen Kangere. I work with FOWODE in the Women and Leadership Program.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Daniel Rukwago from Nona Consults, based in Kamwatch.
My name is Moses. I work with Kibuku for government. Yeah.
You're most welcome.
Thank you.
Hello. My name is Dennis Odwe. I work with UGANDA. Action Group for Health, Human Rights and HIV/AIDS. I'm just a neighbor at FOWODE. You're most welcome to pay a visit to us. We're also very close to Uganda AIDS Commission, those of you who do not know us. So feel free to interact with me more about it.
My name is Richard Mucha and I work with a network called Participatory Ecological Land Use Management. Our main focus is on promoting sustainable agriculture in Uganda.
You're most welcome.
My name is Joven Togo. I work with Bugema University and I'm a member of FOWODE.
You're welcome once again. Today is the day we've planned to validate one of the researches that were being conducted by our consultant, Mr. Daniel Rukwago. This is to do with village budget clubs, monitoring of government programs and public expenditures. I'm sure most of you or if all of you could be aware of the village budget club model, which FOWODE uses to track to track the government programs. And we are here to validate one of our researches to do with VBC monitoring of these government programs and expenditures and specifically we are looking at Kabale and Kibuku. So our consultant is going to provide us with his findings from this research, and we're expecting you to give your value addition to this report to enrich it, to ensure that when it comes out it's useful to the public and our stakeholders as well. This project in particular is the grassroots gender and accountability project, which is being funded by UNDEF. Thank you so much. I wish you a fruitful discussion. So Daniel, could you please take on the floor?
Thank you very much, Emile, for the introduction. What I'm going to present is what I found when I did the work in the two districts, Kabale and Kibuku. The question where they were selected, that one is not my question, you directed to the contract, because it's really not, I don't know. I was given the mandate to do that in those two, out of so many. And to, just to make a sample case that this is not an evaluation, I didn't do an evaluation. I was just documenting what I experienced. And basically only the VBCs and the local governments. And since I was not doing an evaluation, I didn't talk to the entire community. I only talked to the VBCs and the leaders. Just to give you the objectives of this assignment or the study, we are basically 4. One was to assess the level of VBC, the Village Budget Club involvement and the participation in demanding for effective service delivery. And also to look at the roles of duty bearers and the rights in promoting accountability mechanisms. And the challenges, examine the challenges faced by VBCs as they do their work. And to document some best practices and successes and some lessons which can be taken on by FOWODE in the next, in future programming. So basically those are the broad objectives of this assignment. Of course, this is one of the VBCs in Kabale. I think this should be which parish. The name has disappeared, but maybe Florence. Kamwezi is not a parish, I think it's a sub-county. Ikumba sub-county, but I've forgotten the parish. Maybe just something small, maybe it's not feasible. But village budget clubs, according to FOWODE, the initiator and the facilitator, these are informal groups interested in participating in planning and budgeting processes at local government level. On their own, VBCs organize budget meetings aimed at requesting or asking for information on particular budget issues in their localities. They also organize their own monitoring activities in what they call Follow the Money campaign, which is aimed at promoting accountability and transparency in the use of public resources at a local government level. This is meant, the model, the VBC model is meant to promote participation of individuals and the communities, especially women, in addressing issues affecting them. We should appreciate this is a group of the lowest echelon of our society. Don't look at these VBCs as, you know, when you are in Kampala, you might think these are just a group of well-educated LGO workshop, those who are always in workshop laptop. These are village people, women and men, at the community level. Their level of education is, some of them are illiterate completely. They have now gone to school. Others, the best one have P7, senior one. So let's look at them at that level. Don't think that these are just a well-educated group of people. So their abilities and capabilities are also limited. But it doesn't stop them from demanding and asking government to act, to address their concerns. So we should put that in the context of our comment that this is a group of people who are really, really at a lower level of society. Some of them are not really educated. And 2, this model has been in operation for only last 1 year. So their work is still very new, and a lot of learning has to take place because it is still new, and also it takes time for communities to appreciate their involvement, and also the local governments to appreciate communities in asking questions. Usually in our society, the way we are set up, even personally, when you ask a question, some guy who wrote an article. In Uganda, when you ask a question, or when you do something which is incorrect, people say, "Urugezigezi," meaning you're wiseacring. So whoever does something correct or which is supposed to be done rightly, they say that man, I know Urugezigezi is always wiseacring. So in the community, I could see the noise there saying, "This is wiseacring," because they ask the question, which I think is fundamental. Where did our money go? And someone says, "Now they are wiseacring." So that is a challenge we have. So most people, because of fear to be labeled wiseacring, most people actually leave it as it is. You say, okay, most Ugandans actually don't care, because after all they say you are wiseacring. Even when you go and you're in a jam driving and you try to follow the line and you don't overpass, they say, that man is wiseacring. Why is he trying to be very... When you go on the lights and you stop, they say, why you are wiseacring? Why are you not just going? So that's the problem we have. But I think these village budget clubs are trying to address that constraint at a local level. At a local level, the politics is quite different from the politics we have at national level, because that's where service delivery takes place, and the communities directly engage with the service providers. Depending on the service provider attitude and behavior, you can either be labeled, as I said, the wiseacre, you can be denied services. Denying service can happen in so many circumstances. Not directly refusing to give you a service, but also delaying to give you a service. Can be, oh, you can be given a service so that you go away and leave us in peace. So all those things happen, and that's why I want to put ourselves in the context of what's happening at a local level. Since we have the copies of the report, I didn't prepare a PowerPoint, and then given the nature of the report, it was quite difficult for me to provide the PowerPoint, but I will go through the paper in a more unconventional way of presenting. But I think we can, since we have the report, I will just highlight a few points here and there, which we can work on. This is still a draft, as I said, so sometimes I would do, and since this is a validation meeting, not a dissemination meeting, I expect that members will give me as much comments as they can within the mandate, within the scope of the study or the assignment. I have talked about what the VBCs are, and those of you might not, or you have read, the VBCs really, they are set up, and the standard practice in FOWODE was to make 20 members per committee, of which 60%, which is 12 members, are women. That was the agreed criteria, who were selected by the communities to do the monitoring. And yeah, in some, and these VBCs were formed at a parish level. So in each of those sub-counties, in each of the district and the sub-county, there is a parish VBC. And each VBC has a small committee which helps to move the activities of the group, of the club. So briefly, this is how it looks like. In the report, we had not put the numbers. There was some missing gap, but in the two districts, in Kabale, in Ikumba sub-county, there are two parishes where there are VBCs, Nyakabungo parish and in Nyaruhanga parish, and each has 30 members each, 18 women and 12 men. And then in Kamwezi parish, in Nyabuhanga parish, there are 20.
Chabuhanga.
Chabuhangwa. They are also 20, as you see on the temple. Maybe it's not so visible, but and then in Tiringi they are in Tiringi sub-county, only one sub-county, and in 3 parishes: Tiringi parish, Karempete parish, and Kataka parish. And in Tiringi there are 20 female, 10 male. In Karampete, 18 and 12, respectively, for each of the sub-counties. So that's how the model is. And from what I could see, because they are two when they were formed, FOWODE has what a VBC should look like. But also I wanted to know what they think their roles, and briefly they were saying their work is to monitor service delivery, health centers, schools, and everything. They are also working with the communities to address gender issues such as ownership, access, and control of resources such as land and others, mobilizing communities to participate in planning and budgeting. That's what they think, and community sensitization, which I think is some of the biggest attribute of their work, is to mobilize the other communities to demand for their rights. In the report, we have a small analysis, social analysis, which I did with them to identify their strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And basically, you could see a high level of motivation, the mutual respect and accountability and solidarity within members, the voluntarism, and also they understand what they are doing as one of their strengths. And there are some visible benefits. For instance, some of them think that they are becoming influential members of the community, where they are consulted in the case of an issue. But one of the weaknesses found is that the level of literacy is low, as I said. So, and you know, budgets are usually, all government documents are in English. So when you are going to do something and you don't know the language, then it becomes complicated. And also they have high expectations. Most of them want T-shirts. They said now we want T-shirts, identity cards, which is really, I leave it for, I don't know how feasible it is, but I think it's quite complicated. So, and some of them have some inferiority complex. You know, you say, I'm a woman now, how can I, you know, that question, which is really can be worked out. Although there is a bit of voluntarism and commitment, but even there are members who are not really committed. They are not, let's be frank, they are not so really, they are lukewarm, but they are there. And of course there is a bit of poor communication within the members, which is probably caused by either lack of communication equipment, like in some places network is poor, or some of them claim they don't have time to inform other members. So somehow they don't share information easily, and it causes some problems. The opportunities are there for this. They claim there is access to information is not. They get some information. They are also recognized by the community. As I told you, some of them are consultants on some issues. And there is support from local government officials, especially at the district level, that the district is very supportive, from what I could see and I could read. And the radio talk shows also help them to explore their, to expose their work. The threats are there because even if there is access to information at a general level, but specifically there is a tendency by local officials to deny information. And some officials, I said lower local government officials don't support their work, so they dodge interface meetings I'm not going to name examples. I know it, but I leave it at that. But they dodge meetings consistently. That especially the sub-count and the parish level officials. There is some suspicion from some duty bearers or the office holders, like school authorities. What do you want from us? And they also had a problem of inadequate facilitation of their work. They are saying that we need gumboots, we need what? You know, when you monitor when it is raining, and now you have to walk, I don't know how many kilometers, and then you have no mechanism of, you don't have an umbrella, now it's raining, now it's, how do you do it? Of course, that one for me, who had been in community work for some time, I know it's just a problem of how society the community perceives it. I don't blame them because society in Uganda has become aware that if you don't facilitate me even to leave my home and come to my office, I will not come. And the facilitation, I mean money. If you call a meeting and you say transport not provided, I can bet even in Kampala when you get a quota of the participants, you will get 1 or 2. If you say no lunch, no transport, I'm afraid even this meeting will be empty. So it is a common. So I don't want to blame the other one when for us actually we are the same category. So people don't care. So it is a problem. So a person will not just come and so they also claim, how can I walk the whole 10 kilometers without anything? And then you, even if I'm doing community work, so what? So it's just a problem which we have as given our level of incomes. But there was some small comment on the gender roles, but I didn't find it very significant. But it's there that sometimes the nature of the VBCs tend to have more ladies on the committee, and given the nature of their work, it becomes very hard to leave their household chores to go and start doing this work, which is a lighter note, although it is not significantly seen, but I could sense happening. Because if you have a lot of responsibilities at home, compared to men, basically in the communities, men have less household responsibilities than women. Whereas men can take off to go and drink, women cannot have that leisure. Their children, their work, but a man can wake up in the morning, he goes and digs somewhere, after digging, he returns in the evening, or even doesn't even return. So, but for the ladies, it's very difficult. So if you are going to divide your work, you have children, and then you have to go and it becomes a bit difficult. So in terms of monitoring, they have been monitoring, specifically they have been monitoring largely a few programs. They have been monitoring primary schools, health centers, NADS, and this CDD, the community-driven development, and it's a bit of roads and bridges. And there's a table there, if you have the paper, table 3 gives you the places which they have, in the last 1 year, which they have been monitoring. Basically, those are the programs they have monitored. They don't monitor, they have not, but those are the ones which I came across. And for each district, they are a bit different, because in Tirinyi, it is basically education, health education, water and sanitation, and NADS. And in Kabale, it's basically the same, including NADS, CDD, and some bit of roads. And also they have done work in radio talk shows, organizing what they call the community feedback meetings, what they call interface meetings, and a couple of activities which are well mentioned in the report. I'm just going through the report very fast. And some of the outcome of their work. I was told, and I documented, that there has been improvement in academic performance of the schools they had monitored. An example is in Nyaruhanga, Rubanda, Kabirizi Primary School, which got first grade in the period year of 2012. and there is a bit of evidence from that table. Of course, where I left this one, I was asking myself, I probed to understand how it happened, given the time span. And yeah, you can attribute part of it, but entirely, if you go in deep understanding, it might not be that. It might have contributed, but I don't know whether it is really the only factor. Maybe there are others. But anyway, the message is that because of their work, teachers, one, became more serious, especially attending school, reducing absenteeism. Two, parents became more responsive to the education of their children, whereby through these interface meetings, parents were educated about their role. Because in communities, parents believe that it is the responsibility of government to educate the children. And once a child has gone to school, that's not their business. The parents don't even follow up their children. They just go and that's it. So now parents were able to follow up on their children. Teachers are there, and even parents, I'm told, contributed money in these schools, a small fee for feeding and also for provision of provision of is something I want to come the meals, and provision of they call it kind of long not as it boarding section for the P7, where parents are willing to give some money. So, and these are the things which take place because of the work of, basically from the point of sensitization of the communities, which the VBCs did. And there are a number of messages I got from the VBCs themselves. Then, and also the school management committees of some of the schools are beginning to be more accountable due to the vigilance of the VBCs. An example is Chituti Primary School in Kibuku, and I think there is a case there where they must have misappropriated or misallocated the resources, and because of the work of VBC sensitization, they were able to follow up. One of the VBC members is a member of the school management committee, followed up, and the headmaster was apprehended, and the resources recovered. In the health sector, there has been some improvement in the availability of health workers in these health centers, like Chogo Health Center 2 and the Tiling Health Center 3, where I wasn't sure, because I was kind of documented, but I wasn't sure about increasing staffing, but probably yes, because of the noise, the noise VBCs make, force the local governments to improve the staffing levels, construction of the sanitary facility, disposal pit, and other facilities, innovation of some of the health centers, supervision by the DHO's office. And an example of Chogo, that AMREF provided the solar panel because of the demand communities were making on the inability of the hospital or health center to work beyond daylight. At night, you have to, if you are in labor, you have to go with a torch and moreover on a phone, the Kabale phone, and then you are the one for lighting. And you know these things happen in the community. It's really bad. So, and also the health workers being available at health centers and being able to listen to the patients. Because all of us know that most people are sick psychologically, but they are not naturally sick. But the mere seeing a doctor and touching you, you'll be fine. It makes you happy and you go home. People, by the way, if you are away, drugs don't treat people. What treats people is the psychology of the person. If a doctor goes and says, don't worry, we'll be fine, go and drink water. Of course, some people don't want to be given a drug, a medicine. But some people, when they say doctor and they talk to them well, they get healed. So just being at the health center helps the people build confidence in themselves, and they claim that in Tirinye Health Center 3, the health workers are more responsive, they are more friendlier than originally before. They talk to you as a patient, not as an enemy. Another one of the things, not the impact, but the output of their work is that they have been able to influence budget allocations. And the examples are given that there's a bridge there in Kabale, which because of the noises or the work of VBCs, it was put on the agenda of the technical planning committee. That's what I was told. So it was put on the agenda because the communities were demanding. So the TPC technical planning committee said, so apologies. The TPC had to put it on the agenda and actually make sure that it is included in the development plan of the district and worked on. And what I heard also from looking to the local the government officials, that now that where the VBCs are operating, when the technical planning committee is sitting, is trying to give some priority so that you reduce on the let me use the word, you reduce on the noise. So you make sure that the things are a bit working there. Otherwise, if you don't do anything, the noise will increase. So that's one thing which I think is internally happening within the influencing change within the budget allocations. And there is also a sense of empowerment. The VBC methodology for me is a very empowering tool. And there is evidence. The right to ask questions is beginning to take root. In Kabale, given the nature of the Wachiga, it is more open. People talk. In Kibuku, maybe, yes, beginning. The Kabale people are very open. They don't miss words. Here people talk, I'm coming back when they feel like living forever. So people talk like that. So even to ask questions, people here fear. Because naturally, like in the central region, we are under the Kabakaship. Originally, in our cultural setting, you do not ask the chief questions unless really you want to be punished. The chief was a powerful person. Whatever they did was final. Because the chief was appointed by the Kabaka, you cannot go and start asking Kabaka, where is my money? It's like going to Menga and asking for money. It's very hard unless you are a very strong Muganda, and very few risk that line. Because people will rebuke you. How can you ask Kabaka? So people have that part of perception. Even in our homes, when I was growing up, it's very hard to ask my grandfather, whom I grew up, that is he asking questions, unless because that one would be a slap. So in that culture, when you grow up like that, even when you go to normal work, I've worked in places, my friend, to ask your boss any questions, you are risking. So people go like that. It's a timid society. So even to ask a small question that this money is for what, it is very hard. You just can't move on, create peace. So to even change that community, to even ask one small question to a chief, it is very hard. Moreover, this is a chief, a sub-county chief nowadays is a graduate. Even the level of understanding is higher. The man is never at the sub-county. If he's there, he comes and then he goes. So how can the community go and ask a chief a question? Who are you? In your maybe barefooted man asking a question, unless you are mad. So somehow, no, but things are beginning to change. And I think for me, that sense of empowerment cannot be taken lightly. It's a very powerful tool for a person to be able to talk and asking a question, especially when it comes to money. And I think that can be attributed to the VBCs, part of the work. Relationship with the duty bearers, I mean the service providers and the local leaders. I think there is improvement. Originally, as I was told, that in the beginning there was a resistance from some of the duty bearers because they were not sure about the intentions. But now the relationship has improved a bit. For instance, I found a very supportive LC chairman of Tirinyi sub-county, SCC chairman. Actually, during the meeting I had with them, he was there the whole day. I don't know what was his intention. I wanted to say, Mr. Chairman, can you Uganda? I talk to people when you are not there, but then I feared for my life, I kept quiet. But because I don't know what maybe he was trying to show that people don't talk what, society is constructed in a way that people will not tell you what they think when they are other people. So he was there the whole, with his vice chairperson, the whole meeting. So I said, but he seemed to be very supportive. And they told me he has never missed any of their meeting, which is very good. And he's willing to support them. Of course, my other side of the story is that I could see, because when he was still in the meeting, immediately the sub-county chief also joined and also stayed there. Because I think as I know politics of the local government, there is the sub-county chief and the LCC chief. Maybe there might not be, there's be some friction. So you have to, maybe, I don't know what will happen. But something you could see that both of them were there to ensure that the meeting does not say things which are not in context. And whenever there was a problem, they could come in and try to put the meeting in order. And you understand? And actually, they were very supportive. I think for me, that's a very good to create that atmosphere where the local leaders know what the people think and they don't fear that anything wrong is going to happen. Makes a lot of sense. I used to work long ago with in communities in most places, but we had a lot of problems because the meetings were so volatile that sometimes the leaders would walk away in protest. So, but I think this one is not happening. The views I got from the duty bearers, the leaders that the leaders credited the work of VBCs for increasing community awareness and demanding for delivery of services. And the messages are captured there. Maybe to just put a small comment here, there are quite so many messages. So I want this meeting to guide me on that. I try to capture as many messages as possible because my understanding of the work is to ensure that this is not an evaluation. It's more of capturing what is happening on the ground. So capturing people's messages, for me, tells you the story better than when I say it myself. Or when I try to synthesize it and make it one line. But you could see from all the people talk to giving you their own perspective. And a number of things are mentioned there. I want to go through them. But the most important that the recognition which the local leaders have started giving to the VBCs is one of the things I could find. That VBCs, like in Tirinyi, have been invited to attend the district budget conferences, which for me is a good one. If you can be recognized and you are told you are invited to attend, gives you that confidence that what you are doing is actually good, which I found very interesting. And another thing which came out is that VBCs are helping, let me use the word, the lower local governments, the parishes and the sub-counties to air their concerns to the higher local government. We know that in local government we have the layers, the higher local government district and the lower one. So the issue was like the lower local government sub-counties have their problems, but when they push them to the district, the district doesn't do anything. So the VBCs now, because of the pressure from the VBCs, the local government say, you talk for us. At least maybe for the community they will hear. But then when the sub-county chief himself is calling the cow and say, there's a problem here, the cow. But if it's a community, then the perception changes. And I think this is something which is happening, and the examples are given. What are the challenges? I'll go through them very fast. I talked about the resistance from some, I use the word some duty bearers, especially teachers and health workers who query the findings of VBCs. And Another one is the minimal engagement of the VBCs in planning and budgeting. Although it is one of their core objective, I didn't seem to find it very visible that these people are participating in planning and budgeting. Partly because of two reasons. One, there is absence of local government planning at local government level. There is no more planning because of the 5-year cycle we are using now. The local governments no longer do yearly planning. They told me they will do it again in 2015 when the new NDPs, I don't know, it will be called NDP, I don't know, Vision 40, whatever. But when it is done, because now we're using 5-year span, we're no longer using the other old system. So there is no local government planning. For the budget meetings also, technically, it has not happened because the constraints, you know, it is not really something which is very happening. And I think that's an area which local governments can help us to, how do we engage these communities in these processes? Access to information is still also limited, especially about funds released. What I could see, VBCs monitor service delivery at a level of outputs. I mean, classrooms, are there what? But in terms of inputs, how much money was injected in certain activities, that level they haven't been very effective because that involves you having information on how much this building was supposed to cost and how much it costed and the quality of the building, rather than monitoring at a level of just completed building. Those are two different things. And I think that's the level we haven't reached there, but given the time of their work, I think with time they can be able to reach there, especially if they can get information on releases. And of course, the challenge of the capacity of the members. Most of them are really less educated. So I don't expect them to do certain things. Then the challenge, or another challenge, is the monitoring tool they are using. The monitoring tool they are using was developed by FOWODE and their team. And so their VBC's work is to tick boxes. I found it very disempowering. That's what I said. FOWODE should facilitate the VBC to develop their own monitoring tool, customized to their environment. But it can have standard practice questions, but they should be really themselves. And that tool should be in local language. It is not in local language, it's in English. So it means that some of the members of VBCs are just mperekeze. You know mperekeze? Mperekeze is a maid. So there are 2-3 people who can write and read, the others follow. So what the other 2 people write is really, they can't really give a correct. So I think we should make it in local language so that everyone is participating, rather than me, the only leader, the one ticking, and the rest are following. It becomes empowering. I think that's one area which we really need to work around. And I have experience because we used to do them, and we used to have local tools we developed in local language in other places, depending on the district, because there are some changes which happen at a local level which you cannot use as a generic question for everyone. And I think that's one thing Then there is a challenge they also have is the high expectation from leaders. Some local governments expect some facilitation. When I say facilitation, you know it, I don't need to explain. Transport, I don't know what. If I'm coming for your meeting, you have to give me fuel. So, so if there is interface meetings, if there is no money for facilitation of leaders, some of them don't turn up, which I think is not good. Yes, at their level of governance, whereas there is a committee at a parish level, each VBC has a smaller committee at parish level, there is no unifying committee at sub-county level, which is something we need to work around. To have, yes, you can have committees at sub-county, each parish, and then you have one smaller committee for the sub-county. It seems here that the sub-county, if I'm wrong, I'm correct, it seems that each parish is independent. with its own committee. But there is no any other committee at a higher level to harmonize the work of the 3 parishes or 2 parishes or one. So that when we produce a report, it is a report for the sub-county, not for the parish, because now it becomes a bit complicated. So if we can get that committee at that sub-county level, then it helps to in the governance and also for purposes of following up on their work. Of course, there is a little bit of politicking. I found it in Kibuku. Kibuku has its own political problems, which are unique. There are 2 camps there, and those Kibuku know them. I don't want to go in those, you know them. This is a very complicated story, but it is true. I was told it is really dividing the VBCs. Where do you belong? Do you belong to Ndamuyangu or you belong to Kamba? These are very, very complicated political questions. I don't want to go in those, but those from people know it is really a divided line. It's not like so when that one enters the committee, so your findings will be, are they for Ndamuyangu or for Kamba? Now that becomes a problem, and I think in other places they might be happening also. This one might be a little bit expounded because of the nature, but maybe it's happening. Are you for us or not? That one can create problems. Some people will say now you're just meat hunting us because you're in the other camp, and then the monitoring becomes a bit polarized because of the politics around there. But also, I found that our BBCs in some places they talked about when they schedule a meeting, members are saying Ugandan problem, don't come on time, and then they lose a lot of time. The sustainability question still remains, although FOWODE is the one facilitating this process through the UNIDEF. So when UNIDEF ceases to exist, what happens? It's the question I leave to FOWODE. It's a question I found very, very tricky, because although I know some of the VBCs have tried to develop their own self-help projects, but that is at their own individual level capacities. But in terms of institutionalizing these things to happen beyond the FOWODE and the UNIDEF, I'm not sure. I'm not sure, and I think that's the question I want to leave to the. It's a good model, but it might suffer a problem if the donor disappears. One of the lessons we can get from there is that, as I conclude, it is important, I think, for VBC work to excel or to work properly, to work with the local government officials. That relationship has to be cultivated. Without that relationship, I don't see it happening. If there is a friction between the 2 parties, then there is no negotiation. But that one should not take away the issue of independence of the VBCs. VBCs should not take away their autonomy and become part of government. Then they would have lost it. Civil society is never government. And that's the way I know it. Civil society is the 4th arm or 5th arm of the state from after the media. Civil society, after media is part. It's not government. So the work of civil society is not to be in bed with government. It is to criticize government. Simple. So if this, but doesn't stop you from working with them. That means sharing information and negotiating. One of the commission I see, before you produce your findings to the general public, please first verify it with the local authorities. And also give them the opportunity to explain why they're happening the way they're happening. Because there might be some misinformation. And given the polarization of communities through election and the political parties, you might find that the information you are having is wrong. So it's better to create that sharing information. And of course, the empowerment of women is one of the issues. Sustainability. I think I found a very good thinking around the VBCs. Like in Kamwe's sub-county, they have hired a garden which is in the picture there. Of course, now the garden is there, given in Kabale, we're on the hill, so the garden is inside there. I don't know which one now, but it is one of the garden. Because you know Kabale, the way it is talking, you cannot go down in the valley. I was on the hill, so take a photograph. You cannot go. The garden it's around there. Because it's a big space, so but they have their small 1 acre inside there of cabbages, which is really for them, they have to generate income. Purposely, I think the BBCs are using this model to also help them to form a kind of a village saving society where they can save and support their work beyond their normal livelihood. So they are using the BBC also to help them to be together, form like a circle, and also survive in this environment, which is, I think, is good. And I think other VBCs in other districts can borrow. I heard the Kibuku told me, although I didn't see the garden, they told me they are thinking about it. So they are still also in the same situation, which I found very interesting for their own sustainability, and also to keep themselves together. I was impressed in the Kamwezi sub-county where the BBCs have composed songs. They have a drama group. You know, Bachiga like shake dancing. It's not like other people. After the meeting, they have their own dance, which makes them really a united group. I was impressed. I even have photos when they are really drumming and dancing. After their work, they also have a drama group, and they can entertain other villagers at a cost. There are other opportunities you can. So those are some of the ventures they are trying to, because I could see beyond just the monetary government programs, it's also a unifying factor for the offered to bring a group of people together and make them as a community to work to improve their lives beyond just monetary government, which I found very interesting, and the Kabale people will tell you how it is interesting. But also the question of we need managing expectations. That there is a feeling within local government that this model should be expanded to all sub-counties, all parishes, and I thought they maybe has a different view given the funding constraints, but I think FOWODE needs to have a dialogue with the local leaders to address its expectation. I think there is the urge there that we go to expand, at what cost? The question I asked the local leaders, are you willing to support the expansion? Then that one is left there hanging. So that one, I think, FOWODE can see to the local government and see how they can support each other to expand the model to reach the entire community. And for BBCs to be effective, they need to involve the entire community. It is impossible to fight corruption or misuse of public resources alone. So they need to, beyond the started people, to have the entire community behind them if there's any issue. If they take it alone as 5-3 people, it becomes very difficult. And I think that's why I'm saying they need to work as to involve the entire community, rather than just labeling themselves the Kalondos, the monitors, and then they move around with identity cards and the monitor, and then alone, or 2, 3, 4 people. The community has to be the one owning the monitoring. Just as I conclude, I talked about areas for improvement. Some of them I've talked them, but I just recited them again. I talked about helping them to develop their own monitoring tool in their local language, commensurate with their needs and capabilities, regular refresher training, especially in communication skills. That one, I'm told it is still a challenge. Some of the languages, I'm not a communication expert. Some of the language used is sometimes very hard. So they need to develop a way of. And there was an idea that this training should also once in a while incorporate the duty bearers, so that they know, because some people act out of ignorance. A person might not be bad, but might not be aware that actually there are people who don't know that communities have a right. That the money government has is a public money. Some people think it is their money. A fellow has a government vehicle, that's why a government vehicle has a red number plate. Or a bull. They have purpose to identify them, and the person is posing as if it is his own. He finds on the road, he pushes you away, for him he passes. Even the fellow is driving your taxes, even the car itself, the driver is paid by, and the fellow is posing around. Sometimes people assume that a government office is theirs. And they need to be informed that, by the way, that's not your issues of NADS guidelines. Simplified small. Most of the guidelines can be simplified, 2-3 pages. So when I go to monitor, you know what I'm talking about. Not just go and talk far, you know. You talk from a point of ignorance. So those small, simple materials can be provided for them to help them in their work. Another thing which I think BBC can do is they need to get activity books. Most of them, and it's one of the things I saw, that record keeping is very poor. People, all of them, they will tell you we have done wonderful work. They will even tell you schools. I ask them, when did you do it? They don't know. When did you do it? What date? Who did it? Nothing. But they know they went. I monitor the school. We ask them which date. Was it in April or May? Then they start arguing each other. But May, June. Then not even the month is not known. And it's less than a year now. After 4 years, what will happen? So probably we need to have a book where I say, these black books, you just put the line and say, today we are going to Kamezi Primary School. We are 2 people. This is what we found. And write in a book. The book can be a reference point in the future. But now you are using your head. And unfortunately, when they monitor, they get it's a piece of paper. They send it to FOWODE office in the town, and then in Kampala, then they remain with nothing. Maybe it remains. Now that's a problem also. Now maybe the district says of the copy, then the copy goes to Kampala. Now I don't know. Now the record at the local level is gone. So when you go talk to them, they tell you stories in a gross way. Because I want to ask them, how did you? Are you the one who caused UPE to improve? How? When did you monitor? What happened? There was a little bit of missing information. So maybe those small books can help to help them. And I think the issue of institutionalization of the BBC work, making them, I know in ABIM, because I did some work in ABIM, some of them trying to register as small CBOs in their communities. It has 2 advantages. It can help in addressing the sustainability question beyond FOWODE. They can use their own small organization for additional funding from other places. And then it becomes a unit of its own. It becomes institutionalized. It's no longer FOWODE. It's now a community-based organization. And the UDN, Uganda Network, and other groups have done models. I know some organizations which are now established as CBOs, which started as community monitoring, but now they are small-based CBOs and doing wonderful work in their communities. So that discussion of making these institutions work on their own can be very helpful. I think the rest really, there are so many other things. But I know local government officials noted that they recommend that FOWODE should be more transparent in sharing information on its budgets with local governments. I leave it at that's the information I got from.
It's not clear.
Yeah, because yes, they told you should be able to share information with them on your budgets. I don't know which one, but at least you should be able to tell them what you have and what you don't have. You don't just come to community with a sack of money and then they don't know what you are doing there. You might incite, you might cause inflation and then incite violence. So please share information with them so that they know that you are carrying some millions to the village. Because the perception that people have that NGOs have money. So now for you, you might have no money and they think you have money. And the demand becomes a little bit... yeah, basically that's the perusal through the report. I would welcome the comments and suggestions to improving the report. And as I mentioned, this is not an evaluation, it was really experience, documenting experiences. So it might not fulfill some of the standardized practice of research, which would involve desk review, literature review. I don't know, because I don't have any literature beyond what I saw. References, all those things. They say, where is the, I don't know, where is the methodology? Where, of course, methodology can be there. What is the methodology? Where is the sampling method you use? So those ones are really, because of the nature of the research, I couldn't to go in. All of those ones might not be in the context of what the instance was really to document what's happening on the ground, and then and it's a sample of only 2 districts. The others' views are not reflected. The situation in Nobim might be different or might be different in other areas. Thank you very much.
And let's give him a clap. Surely this man has done a good job. Let's give him a clap. Yes, thank you very much, Daniel, for this presentation and for also going down to document the VBC's experience. As for FOWODE, we started these VBCs last year, between April and June. And of course, this means that it's over a year now into the project, and we thought it important that we document the VBC's work. And that's why we commissioned this study, because we want to ensure that we are learning and strengthening our work in terms of budget tracking and service delivery at the local level. So thank you very much. And so this is the report that we see before us. At this point, I'd like to welcome comments, questions, anything that is on your mind. But to be able to give value addition to this report, to improve it, I would request kindly that we go page by page. Is there a comment on the first 3 pages? You do. Please just remind us of your name and the district, please. Okay.
I don't know who it was intended methodology, because from the beginning I was wondering on what took me to the field. Looking and finding out that there were no objectives. But on the screen, I saw the objectives. Wouldn't it be better if the objectives are put under the contents? Yeah.
Thank you. Let's take it in. So, unless someone else has a comment, can we move on straight to the page? You have something? For the first 3 pages?
No, I want to add a little bit more.
Okay.
The objectives won't come out clearly at all. And we need to know. And I also want to add that I've learned that this gentleman from Kabale is Zimbabwe, but in the appearances is Zimbabwe. Yes, but in the appendices it is written differently.
So that will save time.
So, are we done with the Yes?
It's like we are talking so many people ago. So if you can really guide us well and stop some of us who are.
Okay, so can we proceed then to page 1?
And we can put him under acknowledgement so that it makes its marks. We can acknowledge him, the good work he has done under that area of acknowledgement. It's on the first page. It is a footnote. It's a footnote on the document.
VBC concept. The VBC concept, it is in. It was taken like a. Look at this concept. The box. It will. That is where you will find the Follow Your Money campaign. The VBC concept, it is perceived as the Follow Your Money campaign, and it is, if you read on these words, that's where it is. So when you go VBC.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
I think the font is so small, so I'm trying to read the box, and I think that's where the gist is.
Any other comments for page 1? Yes, please.
Yeah, in the background,
while the consultant provided the national context in terms of looking at the framework, but we are aware FOWODE, being the host of the CS Bank, has done a lot of work on budget. So we wanted to see a quick snapshot on the genesis and the exodus of the formation of this budget work.
Thank you for that comment. In fact, I agree with you. That was also my comment. We need to enrich the context within which we are situated with VBC.
Yes.
So we'll have a quick background of FOWODE, zeroing it into the JEP program, and then talk about the project in brief that has actually enabled the establishment of these VBCs. Great. So yes.
Yeah, I still page 1. I think there's that concept of the participants in the study, the VBC members and local leaders. My concern is on local leaders. I think we need to clearly bring out what we mean by local leaders. Because when you go into the body of the report, you find that the local leaders were going up to the district level. Yet the area of study is some parishes within some sub-counties. So I don't know who are the local leaders and how wide the scope of the local leaders involved. I think also needs to come out.
Yes,
I think just to supplement on what she just echoed, maybe we need to segment the leaders in their respective categories, because we have the technical and the political, but at different levels. Yes.
Thank you. Okay, let's move on to page 2. Are there any comments on page 2?
Yes, please. Thank you. I'm wondering why the statistics from Kabale are not addressed. At the same time, I would wish to have gender disability since we are trying to do. Also, we talked about, you said that women are more than men. So, if you are to form any new budget clubs, I would refer you to really ensure that more men are I can convince to participate. You see, women have been in the domestic domain for a long time. Now that they are in the public, and that's why maybe they are starting to come out. So they are meeting many challenges. That's why I think in most cases they are overlooked. They are taken as, they are not taken seriously. So if they are with men, almost maybe if there is some kind of balance in the composition, I think it can help them all to maybe to come up with something that is more critical.
Thank you. Any other comments? Any other comments for page 2? Yes? Okay, we'll do the first, the second, and then the third.
Okay.
The second.
Thank you. I think we talked about the objectives. Maybe the objectives should also appear right here on page 2. Yes.
Yeah, I think in terms of the profile of the VBC, it brings the reader to where this study was conducted, who was studied, and why. So that has to be very clear in the document. And also I was requesting the researcher that at least when I read through the document, it looks like this study was qualitative in nature. So it has to be, also stipulated here so that if there's someone reading the entire document, use those different guides, different tools that Obo said. That would be very helpful.
All right. I think it is important that the consultant clearly said that you cannot do this work in isolation or single-handedly. I think the VBCs need to work with existing structures that have either previously or are still working on budget-related work. So we need to see, especially under their roles, I think, their responsibilities. We need to see a bullet indicating that they need to network with existing institutions that are working on budget-related work. Because they cannot be, they shouldn't reinvent the wheel and all duplicate if there could be existing institutions already working on it.
Yeah, on page 2, that subheadline 1.3, brief profile of the VBCs. Need to be helped. To me, I take a profile itself as a brief, and the concept looks as a reputation. That is to me. And at the same time, to me, a profile would be maybe information mainly picked from documents. But if the way the information is presented, like when we look at that paragraph, the VBCs understand their roles as, it looks like a finding. So I don't know whether these roles are the ones stipulated by FOWODE or are the roles the VBCs understand and it is a finding of the study.
Okay, before I invite Daniel to give us responses to any of the issues that were raised, I'd like to just inform our colleague at the back that during his presentation, he actually gave us the gender disaggregated data for the Kabale VBCs. I recall well, Kamwezi had, I think it was 18 women and 12
and 8.
12 women and 8. They were given in the presentation.
This paragraph that says each VBC has a committee composed of this and this, and the mobilizer information, CP, and the committee roles include management of the club, plan, undertake, and report findings from the field. They report to who? I think we should be specific on where they report the findings that they get from these meetings and the field activities that they have.
Thank you very much. Still on page, is it 3? I have 2 documents. And on the what? That is on the VBCs have been trained in the following, among others. One, I'm not discrediting the findings, but the language used. The consultant told us that the VBCs are basically people with very low education, and he emphasized almost all of them. But when you look at the findings, generally in the whole of chapter 1 and 2, they use high-level words like we have been trained and focus on budget processes, gender budgeting. I was wondering whether that is the voice of the people he was talking about, or his own voice.
The voice was in local language.
You translated it.
What is the word for
so if I put in the Chiga and the other and then if a part is the word mentioned here is for the level of us, but if a person, I don't know how we can write advocates and only and small, maybe you can look for simpler words, but from what they explained, that's what it meant, from what they explained. That's what, unless I put an explanation in, because they explained to you what they was.
Anyway, my comment is like,
I just, because I got comments from other people, and they thought we need to reduce the report to be smaller. So somehow you have to go and remove certain things. So
yes,
that's the reason why
my major comment is that the style of presentation kills the voice of the people from the report, so it ceases to be like research for me.
Maybe you can advise me, how would you write that?
Without being very wordy.
Without being wordy.
Okay, you have
a person tells you,
from this comment, from the expression here, it sounds like this was somebody's voice saying the VBCs have been trained. in the following. You said advocacy and lobbying, and maybe if it is a finding, we need to see how the expression can be.
All the voices from people are in courts. The rest of the...
Okay, this one is not
the rest of the voices, what you see are my own analysis. All voices are in courts.
Okay.
All. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
those ones which are in courts are really my own...
Okay.
Otherwise, I would have written that I was trained
They were... No.
I was trained in
Okay.
I think to add on that, if it was from your own analysis, then we need to know how you captured the information that they were trained in advocacy, lobbying, budgeting, and these budget processes. How did you come to
Maybe
know
you
that
did
they
the
were
budget
trained in that?
desk review of
Were there some
documents
documents that you reviewed?
When you talk to people and you ask them, what kind of trainings have you gone through? And they explain to you in local language. Then I try to synthesize them and put them in the context of what happens at a broader level. But I know they will explain to you so many things in the local language, what they were trained in. That's what I did, because all the things captured here were captured through interviews with the people. Not, this group here is not relevant. Here, most of the function here is not this group, it is from the field what I found. It is the actual interview kind of an article, not like I went and read the certain documentation.
Maybe before you can comment, I
can simplify it if that's the issue.
I would recommend that if you can perhaps bring some of the quotations or the responses to that question. I think it brings it home in terms of have these people actually been trained in these areas. So I think that's where the issue of contention comes around. So is it still on this same issue?
No, let's move on.
This is a new issue altogether. Okay, let's have him first, then Flora, then Elliot.
I just need to have a clarification on the weakness that is sought. On the weaknesses,
page 4. Before I go to page 4, on page 3.
Okay, we need to move fast because we have quite a number of pages.
Yeah, on page 3, the second bullet on top, we have seen interventions of VBCs in terms of planning, reaching at the parish, the sub-county, and at the district. And now why do we limit them that they should participate in village planning meetings? And when we have already seen that their interventions in planning, their involvement has reached far beyond that.
On the issue, on gender roles affecting effective participation, the consultant said that is really not significant, but I'm saying that in Kabale it is very significant. Because women's workload is, as compared to men, where women do almost everything. In Kabale, men are not participating alone, are participating. Even children are not participating. So, and given the terrain of Kabale, whereby even land is fragmented, where a woman has to walk for maybe 5-6 kilometers to cultivate and come back. So it means that it has a bearing on participation in these meetings. Thank you.
So mine is on threads, where he says VBCs are registered with local authorities. Me, I thought that this is an opportunity, and there is somewhere where he advocated for this, because now the moment those which are registered, they get an opportunity to work well with the local government and empower the local government to play its role.
So it was misplaced. Yeah, sorry, yeah, I agree with you, it was just misplaced.
Even when we look at the G, the gender role is affecting. This is an internal. It is socially constructed within the community. So we can regard it as a weakness, because when you advocate for it, we can improve on that.
No, here we are looking at the VBC as a club. It is not really big. It's not internal. It's more or less for me as a threat rather than a weakness to them as a club. This one is just a club. imagine a club within ourselves here. That should be more of a, it's not a weakness, it's a threat to our club, not necessarily a general weakness. Because internally, as I said, some members actually have no problem, but there are those who are threatened by certain fears they have. Except if you are talking about like new people to come in, they are like, you understand? So for me, I would think it's more or less a threat than a weakness. For the weakness are those things which make them not perform to their level.
I would also like you to throw more light on lack of identification. I think that it is a constituted group which knows each other. So I don't know.
When they are going out.
In what I was told that generally the question they usually get, who are you? Who are you? You go to the master and says, who are you? And then, of course, you can say, I'm a community member, so what? What do you want? Who gives you this mandate to come here? So they were saying if they could give them some badges, community budget, whatever, then, which is not bad, but not also good, but it's something we have to think about. I don't know how it works, but something which can identify so that, because to be sincere, any person can wake up in the morning and because they have claiming to be doing certain things, actually is not doing it to the right way. Even a thief can go and say, by the way, I'm a party monitor and I've come one day, and then he went around there with your phone in your office. Now, so but that was the thing, but that's what they were talking about. Is really, they get problems when they go to the community and to some service providers and they question them. Then. What proof do you have that you VBC? Maybe you say call forward and ask, which is very.
Okay, so
well, there's a
we have so many. He was the fourth, and let's agree to work in that order, please. Yeah. However, just to comment on the identification issue, yes, we're having cases of imposters of VBCs who go to health centers, terrorize staff that were VBCs. So it is coming up as an issue, but maybe to make it clear here, we should add perhaps cards, because identification is so wide. Okay, let's have the fourth person and then the fifth person. Then we'll take another round of.
All right, thank you so much, please. All right, I missed the introduction part. I'm called Dr. Bumba. I'm the District Health Officer of Kibuku. First, on a light and humorous note, I think I would like to applaud FOWODE for inviting all of us. Because looking at the comments which are coming, then we have many potential consultants within the room. That's why you see the comma, the full stop, the style of the language, and all those things are coming out. I think the group you've invited is such a group with a lot of input. I wish I had known who is who, then I could make connections later on. I just want to share an experience I've had with VBCs, because I've been in practice for a very short time. One thing that I noted is the group that at least I've interacted with did not come as a group. It was just 2-3 people. Then these particular 3 people were not able to introduce themselves effectively for me to actually understand them. So this was the aspect of an identification or even an introduction letter would be very important. An introduction letter duly signed and stamped. For purposes of keeping it for a long time, it could actually even be sealed. So that if a duty bearer can read, then can understand who these people are as a starting point. Then 2, the awareness of the duty bearers about the existence of these different groups. It is until when I actually read this document that I had a very good understanding that these particular people who came to see me actually belong to this particular group. So let's not take it for granted that the rest of us, the duty bearers, actually know that these people exist and they are just intended to make sure there is improved service delivery. Then about their participation, I think as part of the strategies or for improvement of the quality of work they do, the aspect of interface and even the duty bearers communicating to these VBCs that this is what we intend to do during this period. It may not be necessarily them having access to budgets, but telling them we intend to put a bit that in here, we intend to do this there, we're going to send these resources at whatever forum. The duty bearers actually building capacity of the VBCs will go a long way into helping them improve the work they are doing. Finally, I think you need to take more charge because everybody wants to say something, and subsequently those ones who want to keep quiet will have to listen. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Yes, let's have Florence.
Yeah, thank you very much. On the weaknesses, here comes the poor communication among the members, the VBC members, but in some areas, there is also this lack of the network. I think this does not, we can put it elsewhere as a threat, because like footing to go to a member, like how many members to inform them where there is no network, it becomes a big challenge. Even if you have the willingness, sometimes you can miss. Like when we have a visitor and then you want to have all the VBCs, it is a threat for a member to move. So I feel the poor communication here, it can go also on the threats. And we see, in fact, in most of our interface meetings, these duty bearers will just bear witness. We talk about how can we have the network. Yeah.
Great, thank you. So, are we still on page 4?
Yeah, I hope they didn't
Can we
capture
have,
this.
how many people have comments on page 4? We have 4 people. Okay, let's have Dennis first. Flora has been waiting for long. Then we'll have her and then you.
Yeah, mine is just on editing on opportunities. Bullet D and bullet G, they are the same, so we can delete one. That's all.
Yes, thank you very much. I think we are still going back on the issue of lack of identification. Why? Because if we start identifying these people, mind you, we are building a mass community activists who should do follow-up. And if we need to identify these people, they will start being a kind of small group. Yet we want the whole community, we want to empower the whole community to start monitoring service delivery. We as FOWODE, we have just picked a group because we cannot deal with it. But this group go down in the community to sensitize others that please, can you check up this? So if we start identifying these people by giving them identity cards, that means our constitution is hopeless. And that's why our constitution these days no longer works. Uganda has the best laws, but so let us start telling them that they have a law. I think FOWODE did a very good job to at least cite a law which gives the community the empowerment to monitor service delivery. Thank you very much.
Yeah, actually, just to expound something on, I spent personally 5 years working at Uganda Network in the similar community structures. That issue came out and we never gave identity cards. Reason being of what she has said. I know the dynamics of communities, identify me. Of course people know you, but yes, but identifying that means exclusion. Some club, you don't get another club. And identification goes with risks and responsibilities of the owner, of the person. One problem we faced that time was if one of the members of VBC is with identity card of FOWODE is caught in a treason problem. We are NGOs. The new law attaches the NGO responsible for that person. But now you are here, you don't know what's happening in Kabale, some fellow is arrested, and then they say FOWODE, and now the media will write FOWODE member, and then the organization has an implication. You can even be closed. So we tried to be very careful to avoid a situation where because we have little control of some of those community members in terms of how do we ensure that a staff you can know their movements and you can, but it's a community member is very hard. So what we did, and I agree with this, is to make sure that these people are empowered to talk for themselves, to express themselves vividly on what they are looking for, so that they are not timid. That's the empowerment you give out. Identifying you, I can give you a T-shirt, but I won't give you an identity card. The T-shirt is a T-shirt. To avoid, to shield the organization, I tell you, to shield the organization from any. This situation is complicated. When a person commits a crime, sometimes the organization is taken as responsible, and then you suffer consequences. So that's why you just give a T-shirt and you are a member. To also help ourselves from being failure to go in that trap. You know, an NGO can be closed by a small mistake made by a member. Under the new law, the new act, the NGO Act, the member is responsible for its members if they are identified.
Excuse me. We are having such a long, time spent on this issue.
Just one word. Do I need to be identified when I'm demanding for my rights?
Yeah.
Because people are demanding for the services.
Yeah.
They are looking at the health unit. Are there drugs? Drugs in the state. Are they at the health unit? So do they need to be identified?
Okay, thank you. Elvin?
Okay, thank you. Mine is a small one. Under witnesses, bullet A and F, I'm not comfortable with the use of minimum. We could have better words.
Thank you. Yes.
Okay, thank you. I'm still talking about the issue of identification as being an internal weakness, and I also suggest that poor communication among members also remains there as in an internal weakness.
Yes, it remains there.
It is there.
But the lack of identification is not intended to ask the organization to develop either an ID to give to a member, but we are saying for easy interaction, if this person has met me for the first time, how do I know he's, not a thug?
The challenge is that how do you identify a person?
I think you would allow me to first of them to respond. Yeah. Because I have worked in a similar environment, and I used to work with community resource persons. Many times they demanded for identifications, and they used to do very ambiguous work of monitoring service delivery and also advocating and doing that sort of things. But what we did, we facilitated them with bicycles with the logo of the organization and then T-shirts. I think such a simple one, which people can see you and easily recognize that this person is doing ABCD. It's not intended to really task the organization to develop ideas, but for purposes of harmonizing the relationship, the working relationship, so that when you come to me, you can easily know I have an identification. I work with local governments and that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Thank you.
Maybe just something to share with you. When we did the Kibuku, I had a proposal to the chairman to say that since these are your community members, we request that you give them some kind of letter which says these are our members of the community, please cooperate with them. From the local government itself, so that then the chairman knows these people, can introduce them. Yeah, but even for the bicycles, they provided bicycles. They have bicycles. I think each committee has a bicycle. And some of them have T-shirts. Not all of them. You can give more T-shirts. I agree with you, but for the education we can use, the local government can help us. They give just a normal letter, not from, yeah.
Okay, thank you. I think we have really exhausted the issue of identification. So let's move on to page 5. Yeah, because we need to move. Time is running really fast. Some of the comments like typos, we can send them by email.
I have no problem if you can write in the document now and you give it to me. I will look at all the documents. You can write your comments inside the document and I get it, you leave it behind. I will work on them to save time because we are.
Can we go to page 5? Page 5. Then let's move on to page 6. Any comments on page 6?
So, since this is a validation, if there are spelling mistakes in those places, I don't come from there. Some of them I might written the name badly.
There are many of them.
Yeah, the names I don't know them, so I will expect those who really know the real name to tell me the spelling.
You can work with Florence.
Yeah, Florence, to do the.
Okay, so we have one comment only for page 6. Yes?
Page 5.
For page 5.
We are page 6.
We are on page 6. Yes. But some of the comments, if we miss you, please write it down and you'll give it to us at the end. Yes. We shall still take them. Okay, any comments for page 7?
Interface meetings and these mobilization meetings, we need also to always look, I don't know whether it comes to 2 or 3, to look at the needs of the service providers that need to be satisfied by the beneficiaries. We are more looking at the service providers providing the service, but not looking at the needs of the service providers that need to be satisfied by the beneficiaries.
The response.
The what?
That's comments. We need, please elaborate on it.
When we look at the meetings that we have in our villages, we normally look at what we expect the service providers to provide to us, the beneficiaries. And we leave out what us, the beneficiaries, we need to provide in order for the service providers to provide the service efficiently. I've only seen it in education where parents have to contribute, but in health, in arts, it has not surfaced.
Okay, thank you. That will go in the recommendations part of the document. So let's move on to page 8. Do we have comments on page 8? Comments on page 8? And any comments for page 9? Moving on.
Excuse me. I don't know whether it's changed because, but I think the same. I'm just on the format and style of quotations. Basically, I want to commend the consultant on this.
We are saying that the VBCs have done. Like at this health center, where we're seeing the construction of the waste disposal pit and the pit latrine. It would have been nice to see the result of this advocacy work in picture form. So I don't know whether we managed to pick, to get that. It would really enrich the report. So if you have them packed somewhere, please add them. Yes, please.
On the under healthcare, that's page 9. Increased staffing level. I remember the consultant was a bit hesitant whether it actually took place. And the fact that it's bullet number 1, someone will really say no. So I don't know, if we are not comfortable with it, I think we should remove it. If we are, then we could probably add more meat, like we did for the school, because the school is clearly, the teachers were more vigilant, the exams improved. But staffing levels in healthcare, yes. So we need more explanation to back it up.
Okay.
This is an initiative, one of the.
And
this is the initiative.
Okay, can we have the initiative?
So we need more meat to back it up like you did for education. Because it will, for education, it really came out.
Yes, thank you. Yes, can we have the in-charge share something on that?
Yes, thank you. Tulina okwesigala oteriyo in-charge Chogweri Center 3, somewhere in Kabale. On this point of increased staffing, it is very true, because out of the Ministry of Health normally sets up the number of staffs which should be at a certain level, And for now, as I talk, at that very facility, we are only lacking, I think, a senior clinical officer and the askari. But other staffs, they are there, and we are there, and actually, in that very community, healthcare services have improved.
Comment on page 9?
Yes, page 9.
Are all these comments on page 9?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so we'll have her first, then him, and then we'll move on to page 10.
In the first place, I don't see why the comment given on health is making an alarm be raised. To me, what I understood was that the format used on education, on reporting on the findings on education, should be used for health, where we have a voice. And he was providing the voice. Instead of the consultant picking his words, then an alarm was made.
No, there was someone asking about benchmark. When you go in benchmark, then you are taking me to another level, which I didn't go to do. I don't have a benchmark. That's a fact.
Okay, excuse me, please. We're going to go in the order in which we agreed on.
Yes.
So can we have him? You were second.
I was next.
You are next. Please go ahead.
My concern is actually on the increased staffing levels, because I remember of recent we had the massive recruitment of health workers countrywide. So I have a problem attributing the increase of health staff to their financial clubs. There are districts that also recruited, where really I believe this one does not have to surface here. As maybe we can talk about other issues where we can measure the engagement.
Just to finish that point, I agree with you entirely. As the chief has told me from the other health center, if I talk to me and tells me like that, how can I say it was not been coincidental? It happened when the VBCs have read that, but it happened. It happened. Whether it was because of the VBC or something was happening. At that level, if we are to really ascertain the cause and effect, then we can, but I don't think at this level we want to go that way. But if a person tells you this has happened and is there to testify, how can I really say that you see it was because of other factors? That's why for me, I was recording what I was being told. I would probe a bit and I see, but that evidence is enough for me that it was because of the noises from VBCs, which then from a clinical officer at Kibuku.
Noises is
Oh, advocacy.
There is no, mention of it, and yet in your conclusion, you really give it as a strong statement that there is evidence of women's empowerment. I need to feel this in this report. So please go back to this empowerment section and let us see in terms of the participation of women, what has it resulted in at the different levels. Not just once where you say they can now, participate more in household issues.
My major complaint on page 12 is that title of 4.0. One, views of safety bearers, views of duty bearers on VBCs. One, I was wondering why in the previous chapters the views of the VBCs and duty bearers were put together, and then why in this instance the duty bearers are made separate. That is one. Then two, even if that was correct, I am not comfortable with the whole statement. Why wouldn't we go into views of duty bearers on the role of VBCs or something like that? So I have two issues on it. The meaning and why the duty bearers are later on separated, yet previously their views were being put together with the VBCs.
Okay, thank you. Yes?
I think on the introduction, I think we need to give a preamble, because when you read on, you wonder what community awareness, monitoring, service delivery, what are they? So maybe in the preamble we say just an introduction of what these small titles mean in terms of community awareness, in terms of monitoring and service delivery, so the reader knows what is coming ahead.
We should have got a dimension of qualitativeness here. Because there are some local government officials like me who are absolutely not aware. Didn't you find any? who are not even aware of the existence.
Those interviewed.
Yes. All of them were aware.
Interviewed.
Those interviewed.
Were aware.
Interviewed.
I was interviewed, and you can't believe my level of ignorance.
Yes.
You were not aware.
Unfortunately, we didn't put you. For reasons you can't take it. No, it's okay. I understand.
Maybe an hour, but the whole of it, when I read about it, it isn't gender sensitive. What you find in this project we are doing, we are gender sensitive service delivery. So that has not come out too much in this report. I don't know if you have also felt the report. Yeah. Gender sensitive service delivery.
She's asking for an example.
Of a quote.
Like, let me say, when you go to the hospital, they monitor the health center, then they also bring out issues of maternity, what has happened there, you know. Schools, the girl child, how are they doing, you see. So it is not so much.
I noted a point on this page under chapter 4, but it was not there because it was not written anywhere in this report. But during the presentation, he talked about it, where he said that during his focus group discussions, there was a presence of the sub-county chief and the LC 3 chairperson, and he feared to tell them to go away. I think I want to alert this expert that it influenced the findings, because the focus group discussion is meant for people of the same level. The moment you put their bosses around, so they dance to their tune. So it should be known as a weakness of our evaluation or experience sharing.
Okay, thank you very much for your comment. Let's have him.
On 15. Now, when we talk of sustainability, the second last paragraph, where there is this quote, the VBCs are too vocal, some LG officials are beginning to fear them. I'm wondering how it is contributing to sustainability. I understand this is a project.
Misplaced.
I understand this is a project.
It is misplaced.
Fine. Now,
although it might not be misplaced.
Number two is, I know, like you said, they have already income generating activities. Don't we need to capture it somewhere under this sustainability so that they can still live beyond the FOWODE project? I think it is important that we really.
No, this one was still on the section of the views from the duty bearers. That one is discussed somewhere in the next page. If you look at the the page on 19, that issue is being discussed.
Okay, so can we move on to page 16?
Some part of this, the VBCs are too vocal.
Are you on page 16?
Yes.
It can be some empowerment. But the VBC are bold. They are telling the local government officials what they see without fear. Yes, yes, it can be. Yeah.
But also can be a threat.
A threat.
In the context of this quote, it was said in the context of a sign of a threat in front coming. Because if people fear it, sometimes they.
Yeah.
But it's okay, I will get to it properly.
So let's move on to page 16. There are comments on the page 16. So we have one comment. Yes, please.
On the minimum engagement in planning and budgeting process, I think where they will participate effectively in the bottom-up process at the local level, at the village level. But in reality, this process does not happen. Because that's where they are supposed to come up with their priorities, and they see what they can do at their own level, then they forward at the parish level and other levels what they cannot manage. But due to the fact that local government, the facilitation is not there for people, even for themselves, because they also demand to be facilitated. I mean, the planning really does not take place at that level. Even at parish level, the parish development committees are not functional. So I think the planning process there is a problem. At least as far as my district is concerned. I don't know for the other maintenance.
Okay, so let's have two comments. So let's have her first.
Thank you. This is Leah from Kibuku. I think the consultant also used the phrase here that local governments are no longer consulting communities due to the 5-year development plan. I think that is wrong. The 5-year development plan is reviewed every year. So they ought to consult these people. There is only a weakness that they do not do it. They sit alone as technical people and review that plan, but it's supposed to be reviewed. The bottom-up planning does not die out. So it's not correct that they are doing that because of the 5-year development plan.
Okay. We're having two different opinions going on at the back. So I don't know if someone is going to.
That's why actually I had a problem.
Can you give us a comment?
I have a problem with generalizing some districts because, to the best of my knowledge, at least I normally facilitate my CDOs to go to the sub-county, to go and liaise with parish chiefs and LOCs to conduct bottom-up planning. Even last financial year, I did it. And even this financial year, there is a budget. It is little, but at least there is a budget. Facilitate these people to go down and big issues. And no matter what happens, these priorities are done down there, then the sub-county prioritizes, then thereafter they are sent to planning unit. And that is what planning unit bases on to whatever, to review the development plan.
Okay, so thank you.
But when I ask the VBCs who are participating in that process,
yeah, the challenge.
All of them were doing it.
Yeah, the challenge. So the challenge, sometimes you may be right, but the challenge also lies with sometimes the community members, in that they are not motivated to attend meetings mobilized by LOCs because they think these people are going to waste their time. But the planning process takes place. What we need to do is now to liaise with sub-counties, now that Moses is here and the other field officers, to follow up the planning process, which starts right away. Actually, right now, we're about to send the team out to begin generating issues for planning.
Maybe just I want to add this CDO. What you have said is practice. What is the reality? It's different. I have been to communities. Yes, you send your officers. Yes, I know you send them. Some of them don't reach. So when you ask the community, they have a different. For you have a different report. The community have a different report because the person might. I tell the truth is I have been to districts and I did work on that. And the person confessed that I sat with my parish chiefs and we just did our things and we submitted. But then we wrote that we consulted the community, even wrote a report with the community members. So it might be that somehow you have a different view, but at a lower level, if you ever ask people, they might not be consulted. A parish chief is with a group and they finish the work.
So therefore, can we
let him finish so that others can contribute.
Yeah,
and you already gave your comment on it, so let's have her. And who hasn't spoken yet at the back? Yes.
I just want to
let Jovet have her comment first.
Thank you very much. I want to say this: whether in practice people are not following the system, the fact that there is a 5-year development plan does not preclude annual planning, because it is actually called a 5-year rolling plan, and by
it is no longer rolling.
It is not rolling, but
it is no longer, it's now fixed.
Yeah, because it is planned in such a way that.
And they have their minimum standards. So there is no way we can monitor some other person's program and then we come up with our monitoring tool. We go by their the minimum standards. Those are the benchmarks where we see if what is expected is being done. So there is no way we can change the monitoring tool. We bring the monitoring tool of the VBC now to monitor the government program. Now, these people, there was this thinking of the inferiority complex. Then when we are monitoring, we use the desk, we review the documents, observation and interview. Even if you put the monitoring tools in the local language, but the documents are written in English. So there is no, these people must be empowered to come up and have a mass and have those people who can do it, but they will be more inferior if the tool is even in vernacular. Because not all the officers will be from that area. Then we can have an agriculture officer who does not know the local language.
Okay, thank you, Florence. But still we can find a way around that.
Yes.
If that's what it means. We can have some members who have the English version and
that's
others,
what we do.
others in the local language. So in a way it's being addressed, I think, in Kabale.
You know, my difference is that what I meant by the tool being developed, you help them to develop their own tool. It is more of understanding. Yes, there are minimum standards. If using the minimum standards, can the communities develop their own monitoring indicators using the minimum standard we're talking about? Can they? So that I used to spend time with the community developing these tools. So we use the minimum standard. Yes, a class should receive this amount of money. It's a government standard. Then under that, what should the community monitor look for? They will be the one to tell me, we shall look for this. And then we make it smart. I help them to make it smart, make it measurable and easy to. And then I help them where to find the information. So they are the one like, they know this. So when they go to monitor, they are not ticking a box. You know, there is a difference between when you go and ticking a box than when you are asking something you understand yourself. That's the weakness I saw, which you have to accept that. Some of them, when you ask them what is the tool, they say it's FOWODE. Then when they go, the way they ask even what some official told me, that some of the monitors come and ask a question which is irrelevant. I can't give an example here, but they said something which is irrelevant. But because for them in their mind, it has already been, that's what it was written. But in the context of their community, it is not applicable. But they ask it, and the officer say, why are you asking this one? But they said it is on the question. So I think that's what I want to say, that let's make it more, I don't know, the officers who are here, who have been interacting with them, you can see there are some of their weaknesses coming from a context of having a tool really developed for you, and then your work is to fill in. Then when you do it yourself, and what FOWODE does to help you to fine tune it in a format which is acceptable.
The quality of the work, mine is about, it goes to FOWODE, where the consultants say most of the VBC members were not qualified. And to me, I feel this was a good finding, and it's also a message for FOWODE that for local government to sustain the structures we create as civil society, we need to follow some of the guidelines. For example, the Health Union Management Committee structure, there is the VHTs, the guideline, all these stipulate the quality of a person that should be nominated. So it would be nice to have certain qualifications that you need the community to use in order to elect someone into this club.
Okay. Thank you, Dennis. Can we have maybe a field officer comment on that issue?
Thank you. When we are electing this, when the community is electing the VBCs, we facilitate the process and we tell them what is required. But among the things, that person must be trustworthy, must be staying in the community and having the willingness. You cannot take on somebody who is like a teacher who will be transferred tomorrow. That's why we have the minimum of those people who can read, who can write, have the willingness, they are trusted by the community members. And they are non-partisan. Yeah, because it is the community. For us, we facilitate, it is the community. And when we are electing these VBCs, I think the sub-county chief will testify. It is the LOCs. They are there to preside over the elections. So when somebody, and the VBCs, some people are questioning over the club. A club when you interpret the word the club, that is a group of people who have a common interest, common objective, and can meet on a regular basis to discuss their issues. So that is why in a club, if you fall out, if you cannot meet the standards, you can be dropped and somebody can be taken on.
Is it free exit?
No, they have their constitution, they have their bylaws. When you don't meet the standards. Yeah.
Okay, in the interest of time, let us move on to page 19, best practices.
Just one sentence.
In half a second.
In that we have what we call group dynamics. In the group dynamics, when mostly we are training groups, we basically emphasize the members, the most active members of the group who have experiences, to share with those that may not be having experiences and may be a bit inactive, so that they can help them to do what? Maybe our field officers need to emphasize this to the rest of other members, not to leave those that may not be moving at the same pace behind, but rather to help them improve, such that the club can move on.
VBC sustainability. I came up with, I added on the lessons learned, and I learned that more useful activities can be initiated around VBC clubs that can synergize VBC activities and sustain the activities of VBCs and also improve the livelihoods of the VBC members. I tried to write it down. I don't know whether the consultant can get this.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay, basing on this bridge and good practices on VBC sustainability. When you read that paragraph, the members of the VBCs, I don't know whether with the guidance of FOWODE or without, they initiated their own activities, including the cabbage gardens. Yes. And this has given them reason to actually be more interested in their activities and actually sustain VBCs. So to me, it is a lesson learned that more useful activities can be initiated around the VBC clubs, and these very activities can synergize the VBC activities and even sustain them, and at the same time improve the livelihoods of the VBC members.
Thank you for that comment. Let's have now comments on conclusion and areas for improvement. Yes.
I think one about the areas for improvement, there is need to have more interaction really between the VBCs and the political and the technical leadership of the district. Then too, I think if we had the VBCs also going into doing a lot of voluntary work, especially like maybe in health where there is need, which the VBCs coming out doing some aspects of voluntary work, it will give them more credibility and not just look at them as people who are looking for mistakes, not as fault finders, but then give them a lot of credibility that they are actually interested in service delivery.
Thank you for that. So we'll have him and then her.
As part of the, I don't know what it's called, area of improvement and or recommendation, I think the VBCs need to appreciate the role played by the media. And it is important that they work with the local media, since they are already limited to a few sub-counties and parishes, and this is a district issue or a region issue, then they need to work with the media to easily reach out to many.
They're not working through the radios.
Mine is the recommendation, but it's overdue because I would have wished at least a representation of VBCs. Whether it's because of their low education, but I think there are some people who have captured something from this meeting. Validation exercise. Yes. Yeah. I see problem.
Yes, okay, thank you very much. And paragraph 3 and 7.1. That short paragraph, to me, my feeling that it should be a bit grown up to bring out some of these challenges so that they can lead to 7.2. But simply saying, despite the above mentioned achievements, the VBC model needs to be strengthened in the following areas mentioned below. I feel some of the challenges could be brought out in that paragraph.
Summarize it.
Okay. I saw a hand up for the conclusion.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mine is a suggestion that just like he had mentioned in his presentation, that we need to have a kind of a leadership of the VBCs. They're operating in two sub-counties, two parishes. But we need to have a leadership of those two parishes such that they have a forum for sharing issues. Then those issues can go to the sub-counter and thereafter to the district.
Do you mean a leadership for the VBCs or a leadership for all of them?
For all of
combined?
them in the district. Combined. Yes, getting.
That's a good point.
And then I would also suggest that besides having interface meetings, maybe we also need to have a dialogue meetings at the district level. At the district level, which involves all the stakeholders that can be important in appreciating the model of VBCs. Because we may be here, but sometimes some councillors in different sub-counties are not aware of what is going on in training. It is maybe only members of the deck and maybe some technical people who have had an interaction with them that are aware of what is going on. But if they get to understand that, maybe it can also be replicated to other sub-counties. Yes.
Yes, please.
Yeah, on the conclusions, also areas for improvement, I've seen where the consultant said FOWODE needs to, but the district is already on board and the sub-counties are already on board, so we need to have an integrated intervention. FOWODE and the district, they need to do this. Maybe create awareness together so that the district now owns the process.
Yes,
I also want a form of conclusion. It's like what I have learned, what our VCB are doing in my sub-county. They have taken up to identify the right person to handle the problem. And whenever they dialogue with him, something fruitful comes out, other than looking at maybe the health in charge as the problem, the sub-county as the problem, the headmaster as the problem. So I think if it continues like that, then these VBCs will be successful. Because they don't portion the blame, they only look at the person who can help solve the problem.
And your neighbor? You have a comment?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm Rob Isaac, Leo in sub-county. I came a little bit, but I regret the inconveniences because mine is goes on the conclusion and the areas for improvement. Then around the 7.2 possible areas for improvement. I always see the FOWODE coordinator, Kibuku, what we talked about the VBCs here, but I was also bringing a suggestion or a recommendation that if it is possible, you would provide the transport facilitation, maybe transport facility for the coordinator, because we always interact with him, comes to our sub-county, but we see him on private.
Yes, he has a motorcycle. That FOWODE gave him to do all of this community
Maybe
work.
it's not labeled properly.
It's not a private means what he uses. FOWODE has actually given him that bike. Yes. Yes, let's have a comment.
Yeah, mine is kind of a recommendation. Yeah, we have discussed a lot of things here, but I would love to at least this kind of report be discussed at all the community levels, especially where this information was got from, and all the community leaders in their presence, to at least highlight and much about what every other person is entitled to do, and how the communities are entitled to benefit from their services.
Let's have Flora, her, and then
I want to thank Daniel so much for this report, because at least I also want to bring across to the Vice President that what Daniel gave here, it's not far from also good. I think the VBCs are more like doing the same things, and also some of the achievements, it is hard to track it down, but the VBCs will tell you after we monitor this happened. Like in my sub-county, a school didn't have desks, but when we went to ask them, they said the desks were there. They gave them desks, they increased desks. So some of these things, you might think it's it's a myth, but it's the truth. The VBCs are really working, though we have challenges in Gulu also, just like she also has challenges, especially with the local leaders and the duty bearers at the district. Some of them feel they are stepped on because when you open the community eyes. But basically, let us have in mind that VBCs, we want the community to own this model, and to, even if we are not there, they can continue monitoring government programs. Then we shall wipe away all the Black Monday magazines.
She's speaking from experience. She was in the papers yesterday. Yes.
I also emphasize on the social transparency that my mandate that NGOs submit their annual budgets and their work plans to the planning unit to be integrated in the district government plan. So if you still want to work with us, please make sure these submissions are always made, otherwise you will be pushed out of the resolution.
Thank you for that comment. I thought that's a practice we have. I'm surprised to hear your comment.
Me too.
But we shall investigate and make sure that's happening.
That's what else did they need? We submit. I normally submit.
Yeah, but in conferences they should attend and give what they accomplished in the previous financial and give highlights of what they planned. But I was just responding to this.
Okay.
Just the last one.
Yes.
I want to suggest in the conclusion that besides the VBCs attending just a budget conference and maybe those planning meetings, perhaps they get this information early and try to scrutinize such that during the process they are able to raise up their voices on what exactly they expect to be in the budget, which issues we need to budget for. And also maybe they ought to prepare their budget alternative issues that they can present. Yes.
I think that's a very good way forward. We shall certainly take it on with our field officers. We need to get this information early. I'd like to thank you very much for your very active participation. You have really provided us with value addition and content. It's going to improve the quality of our reports. In the end, you're not going to see a report like this. We are going to make it into a story-like report. So, yes, something better. So we'll make it into a story-like report, so stay tuned as we shall share with you when there are new developments. I think Daniel has been responding to our comments as they came.
Yeah.
I don't know if he has any burning comments that he needs to address at this point.
No, paper, just to thank the participants for the good comments. I like comments, and I would be grateful if those who have written ones, you can leave them behind.
Yes.
Those who don't have written ones, you can send them on my email. It is written down here. So that is fine, so that I get your input, and any other communication will come from FOWODE. My work is to deliver to them.
Okay, so thank you very much once again for coming, and we wish you a safe journey back when you travel, for those who are out of Kampala. I'll invite Millie to call the meeting to an end.
Thank you, participants. This has been very good. You've been so I can't tell. You've been participating fully, if I may call it that, if I may call it. And thanks for those quality words, contributions. We hope our report is going to come out. She talked of the storytelling booklet. This is something that we've come up when we are doing our either midterm or validating reports, research reports, and probably end of project reports. We usually come up with storytelling booklets, which talk, because in most cases our work is more of software. So we have to always we keep on doing those storytellings from maybe our VBCs, the people we work with. So we appreciate all that you've done, and we hope to work with you. I'm sure this has been a very nice group. So next time, be sure that you'll be part of our teams to work on subsequent validations.
Mm-hmm.